Yes, thank you for calling us in today. We understand that you want to be able to hear from us from the metaphysical perspective about the labels that humanity loves to put on your emotional states of welfare and being, which does cover depression, multiple personalities, bipolar, and anxiety, to name a few. So, of course, Joanne wants us to firmly clarify our intentions here today so no one mistakes this as professional medical advice or opinion. This is simply our perspective from the metaphysical realm and how we would describe what's actually happening in general terms and overall. We're not able to, of course, talk about every person who is listening, what the cause of their depression is, but we would like to speak in general. So, with that disclaimer, and we've never done disclaimers before, but Joanne is very sensitive to people misusing this information and intent. And so she wants people to be very well aware that this is from our perception and not hers and not endorsed by any medical um, human, shall we say. So we will continue while we have felt like we have excused ourselves and explained ourselves once again to who we are. And so there's many collectives here to be able to talk to you today because they are gravely concerned. Their heart goes out to their starseed families, to those people who are here on earth right now listening, who have had labels placed on them by the medical profession. And this is just not your state of mental capacity, but it's also your physical. We know that humans love to label things and name things and define and categorize things, and we see things very differently. We do not have such labels, and the reasons why you have physical and emotional situations and results and effects broadly and very wide range of purposes and lessons for each individual person and scenario. But we wanted to be able to help the people just understand this in general and not diagnose people specifically and specifically. And so we start because we want to relieve people from the concern of themselves when they have felt low and depressed, what you would call it. When you feel like you don't want to be social, when you feel like you're wanting to remove yourself from society and hide away, and look at this perfect time now when people have been in lockdown to have the opportunity to be allowed to hide away and just have refuge within yourself, within your homes, and be able to nurture yourself and focus on yourself more than you ever have before. And so while you had that break from your co-workers and from that journey backwards and forwards, and your fellow students, if you are still studying, um, this time that you had for yourself was to clear your mind. It was a gift for it was a gift for humanity to be able to take that time and really reflect and go within, breaking all your daily routines that you normally had, and actually start formulating better, healthier options. Of course, some of you um, reacted to the changes and the confinements and the restrictions. With some emotional triggering, which may have caused you to overeat or undereat or overdrink or do certain things that kind of soothe your nerves. So we want to get back onto track about the depression in majority, in a general rule, the depression that most of you light workers are experiencing and have experienced in your lifetimes is being sponges to other people's negative energies, which then lowers your vibration and then holds you down. And so it is not about you being overwhelmed with your life or your environment or any changes. It is It is quite simply a imbalance of frequency, which is holding your energetic levels at a heavier, denser rate. And so there is really no labels and no stigma that we see upon that. You are all able to collect other people's lower vibrations and keep them with you. And the more you collect those lower vibrations, the more you start convincing yourself that you're a little bit broken, or you're not functioning, or there's something wrong with you, and that you get encouraged by your friends and family, or even yourself, to go and seek medical advice. And this is when you get labeled with the stigmatism of potentially having depression, or they may call it other things, which then makes you feel like you're confirmed to be not functional. And this is such a kind of, it keeps you there longer, having to take the medicines and to keep yourself balanced, and you sort of feel like that's your social duty because clearly you're not a normal person. And unfortunately, people buy into that. Just like people are buying into the pandemic at the moment, you know exactly what's happening there. And so, unfortunately, people who are experiencing the heavier emotions from others and not able to cleanse and ground yourself and release it, then you start being reliant on the medications, which are quite interesting to us because they're another form of control for humanity. And so the medical profession do like to prescribe this just as much as they prescribe your antibiotics. It is a one-shot stop. If you don't leave the office with antibiotics, we see it's depression, antidepressant tablets. We don't want to make fun of this, but it is what we sort of see as over prescribed, and this is part of dumbing down humanity. And we are so sorry that you have held on to those labels and feel that that is who you are and what defines you, because it truly does not at all. But we want to say to you, when you have questioned the antidepressants, they're very powerful to numb you. And when you are numb, it is a challenge for you to connect with us and to go into those higher states, and to be able to open yourselves up. And we want to say those antipsychotics medications that people are on potentially for multiple personalities. Those multiple personalities are merely fragments of that person's other past lifetimes. Their veil has not been sealed, and they are still connecting in with their past lifetimes and their parallel lives, and potentially even their future lifetimes. And so this is very concerning for the person who is struggling to understand what is happening to them, where no medical professional will say, oh, it looks like Bobby from your past lifetimes come here and he wants to talk about his crops. We're making light of this because there should not be any negativity concluded on anyone that has experienced a multiple personality episode or depression. Those are all, we want to say, victims to society. And we are very sorry because we see that once that label is placed upon the people in general, this makes them feel even more bought into the situation, that it's them, that there is no other reason for them to be struggling. And so it lowers, it kind of cements down. And so it is about people going through a lot of changes in their lives and understanding that you're allowed to feel challenged by life, but you mustn't be so overwhelmed that you get stuck. And we do see in some small situations that an antidepressant actually has been a little bit of a lifter for someone to get out of that rut, but we definitely do not see the benefits of it long term. Of course, some antidepressants have saved people from taking their own lives because it has been so extreme, because the energy that they have been holding on to and held is so super low vibrational, and that's really challenging for the higher self to have such a heavy part of them. And doesn't matter whatever they throw at that being, that person who is still stuck, it just seems to continually get worse and worse and worse for them. And so when the person does try to commit suicide, they're either successful with a walk-in situation, or something else has come in, a guide, some sort of archangel, some sort of guardian angel as such, will help someone when they get so completely lost like that, or they keep wondering why they're not able to successfully kill themselves. There are people who have life contracts to take their lives, as hard as that may sound, but this is all learning and growth for the families. And so it is not a selfish act at all. It is one where everyone has control over their exit points, and we must respect everyone's choices of their free will, even though it is hard for us to accept and understand. It is always a purpose and a lesson for us, which we understand is very hard for you when you're experiencing it so profoundly. And so we want to be able to explain to you again the multiple, we've explained the multiple personalities. We want to just talk to you about what we view as bipolar. And so it is the adjustments of high vibrational frequencies. The person is going through a big shift and a big adjustment, and their DNA has been upgraded, and they are getting more heavily connected to their subconscious and to their higher selves. And so they're going through massive peaks of massive peaks of high energy. And then as it is being fine-tuned, the subconscious and higher self will dial it back for that person, because they're trying to find an equilibrium. And so the person is feeling fantastic and really exhilarated and full of life when they're having these highs of enlightenment. And then the subconscious realizes, oh, it's too much, and they will try and dial it back. But potentially it could have already, if the person could have already sort of been awake for maybe a day or two, and they're waiting for the person to use their free will to kind of acclimatize back. And there's so much that we can say about that. Again, it is just energy, and too much energy that the being can't process, and then they dial back their energy, and it kind of dumps them very, very, very low. And so that's where you get the high and lows emotions from. The bipolar is not so much other people's energy as such. It is more about the individual person processing their highs and lows that their body is trying to accustomize themselves to with the new frequencies that the subconscious and higher self want for that person. So it is, again, all purposeful, but it does take some time, because some people are very sensitive to even just the slightest raise of energy. And you can combine a challenging time for that person, and you can almost have the perfect storm of just a lot of struggles. But with any of these situations, if you have gone through them, or if you know anyone that is going through them, please know that it's purposeful for everyone involved, not just the person suffering and struggling with the adjustments of the energies and holding different frequencies. This is a lesson for everyone to have unconditional love for each other, profound compassion for each other. Do not hold labels upon each other. Do not judge each other, and be able to really understand how it could happen to anyone, the imbalance of energies. And this is why it is so important to be able to have a neutral centered of emotions, and be able to be with bigger picture and mindsets, and be able to flow through the energy and not go into fear, and be able to be neutral. And so we are very good now at acclimatizing your bodies to the frequencies, even though there are some smaller highs and some smaller lows. The people who have done their inner work and are focusing on what they're putting into their bodies and what they're putting into their minds, they are realizing that they're not seeing the big waves of emotion that used to bring them high and then come crashing down. And so there is much more of an even keel as people are able to emotionally see things that can trigger them and also not let it knock them over. And so they're aware of the trigger, which once may have completely spun you out, and you're able to navigate with your new mindset, with your new compassion, with your new bigger picture, and just accept all. You can't control anything apart from yourself and your emotions and your physical well-being. And that is really your only job. And while you feel like you may want to be distracted by other people and supporting others, your biggest priority, your most important priority is you. Because how can you really help others when you have not helped yourself? You must learn and grow from all of the experiences that life is offering you to then be able to lend a hand and help others go on the path you've already journeyed. And so there is so much to say, but I really want you to know that you can forgive yourself and understand if you have ever been labeled and that has challenged you because you know it's not quite the truth for you. You can release that now because no one is judging you unless you are still judging yourself. And so there is so much to reassure you with. We don't want you to feel like you're limited because of an experience you had when someone labeled you incorrectly, because that is not you. And we really want you to feel into who you are and really want you to own the energy that you have and release all the other energy that no longer serves you or no longer belongs to you. And so you can return all other energies either back into the ground to be able to ground that energy down and trust that we will and the universe will be able to process that. It no longer serves and holds you down. This is very exciting times. And we also want to say that the foods you're eating are so manipulated that while you're thinking you're eating good meats, for example, we wanted to be able to tell you all that they're so packed full of hormones that as you are working hard for your inner love and your inner balance of self, and your systems are being cleaned and pured, we want to say when you have a clean mind, your body follows. And so when you're purifying your body and you're purifying your mind, you're more susceptible and more sensitive to the environment and to the emotions than ever. And so this is how you get your intuition more, is because you're so in touch and so in tune with more things than you ever could think possible. And so we just want to say to you, if you're still feeling a bit strange or a bit low, impatient and edgy, think of your diet. There's so much of the heavy meats and just meats in general that have been manipulated to also control. So there's many ways that people are trying to control you through the medicines, through the food, through the water. There's so much, but we don't want you to go into fear. We want you to honor and wisely choose what you place in your body and in your mind. And this is so easy for you to do when you set your mind to it and be fully in control and in charge of you, which is truly the only being and person that you have control over. So use your free will wisely. And we say this with much love.